everyone! Today I wanted to work on some character designs, and so I thought I'd take you guys along with me for that process. I've been trying to come up with a design for this character for the comic that I'm working on right now, and I feel like I really hit on something with this look. I like it a lot, but he looks a bit goofy. And so I've been trying to kind of explore the same design with very small changes. I like the way he looks down here. And here his head is maybe a little bit too long. But I'm just not sold on it entirely. And so I need to do a little bit more work as far as that goes. So I think we're going to work on his design today. I also have another main character that I need to work on. You can see the beginnings of something here. A little guy with sort of maybe curly hair. And then I also have some sketches here where I was trying to think of a design for him. Maybe something like this. I think this one is particularly cute, so I quite like that. I'll probably use this design for a background character, and then drawing some dresses just to kind of get a feel for some costuming that I'll need to do. And same with these as well. They'll need to have little hunting outfits. They're going to go monster hunting. And so I was just trying to take some details from various portraits and some photographs to try and come up with something. I want them to be unique and have a slight sort of fantasy edge to them, so I still need to really work on this as well, which we're definitely going to do today. I want to try introducing some metal armor pieces, maybe a breastplate beneath the coat or something. I think that could look really interesting, but we'll just have to give it a try, see where it goes. I need these designs done, so that's what we're doing today. I went back to look at the inspiration board or mood board that I had made when I was doing some of the world building for the setting of this comic, and I was a little bit surprised by how fantasy I had initially gone with it. I had thought that the setting in my mind was a little bit more historically based, but I suppose when I was putting together the mood board, I was feeling particularly fanciful that day. I'd like to find a nice balance so that there is a clear through line with the fashions, but in that board I can tell I was feeling a little bit more Regency and almost Edwardian with the silhouettes of the dresses that I had pinned. There were a lot of sort of dresses that were either very sort of Grecian, Romanesque, like the ones of the Regency, or they were sort of pigeon-breasted Edwardian women. So I will post those, but it's funny because all of the men, if I've put a suit in, it's very 1850s, 1860s with their little frock coats. So I'm not quite sure what I was thinking. I think maybe at the time I was I don't care, I just want them to all look pretty. But I do care, and I want them to look as if they are from a cohesive period in time. So we'll have to see. I think that right now the comics that I'm making are extremely exploratory, and I am just learning literally everything as I go. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest, and I think that's generally my kind of way of doing things, is that I just sort of jump right into the deep end with both feet and see what happens. And, there are pros and cons to this, but I think for me, I've specifically set up this setting and these comics as this is pure exploration. We're just trying to figure out how making comics works, how telling stories with art works, and so I think if I get too bogged down in, oh no, are my costumes historically accurate in my sort of ahistorical gas lamp fantasy world, maybe not worth getting all worked up over. So I think I should probably lean into just doing whatever feels cool for this particular setting, since that's kind of the whole point of its existence, is just to sort of be cool and interesting and really spur my creativity so that I can get in the mileage that I want to with making comics and sequential art. So I spent some time kind of exploring the breastplate idea that I was talking about earlier. And I thought it could be cool, and I do think it fits the setting that I have in mind, but I may use it for different characters. For this little story that I'm telling, I want the younger of the two to look very unprepared, and then the older one, he's kind of supposed to look like maybe he's lost his edge. So I think that having like a cool metal armor piece of their costumes, or like a breastplate that like is like, oh, I'm like really prepared to be attacked by a monster, is like not exactly fitting with what I want these character designs to be doing. It's kind of a little bit overkill for both of them, because a guy who's like doing this for the first time probably wouldn't have one, and a guy who is giving overconfident, washed up, maybe wouldn't be wearing one either. And just like, I don't know, but like for the actual setting itself, I do think that it's something that I do definitely want to incorporate. Like, I'm giving them swords, so they might as well have breastplates and stuff. I've set 2 little comics in this setting previously. I'll link them in the description. I had a lot of fun with them, and like I have a lot of fun with this setting. It's kind of been rattling around in my head for a long time, so it's fun, but I haven't ever really written anything down or sort of codified the laws of the setting, so it is a bit wishy-washy. And as I was saying, you know, it's just kind of for me to do whatever I want, and I think that by not allowing myself to write anything down very like clearly and have it all laid out for this particular project is going to like allow me to not get caught up in my own head and in the stages of planning, which I tend to do a lot. I think it is very easy and it feels very safe and reassuring to just be planning. Because if you're planning for something, you're still working technically on a creative project, but you actually don't have to do the scary part of making something and then putting it out there. And I don't want to get caught up in that. I know myself well enough to know that I probably would get caught up in that if I did it for this project. So I haven't allowed myself to do that. And I think it's actually been going really well. The other 2 comics that I did were both just little 2-page comics. I had intended to kind of do 2 pages and then try 4 pages and then maybe 6 pages and then 8 pages. You know, let's kind of move up in increments of 2. But for this one, I leaped straight to 12. I don't know what happened. Well, I do kind of know what happened. Basically, I was gonna do like a 1 or 2 page comic, and then the punchline, I didn't like it. And I was like, okay, well, I like this idea, and I do like the sort of punchline or the like kicker of this 2-page comic, but I don't think it's sending the message I want it to send. So how can I elaborate on this so that the joke isn't kind of just like, haha, you're old now, which is not what I wanted it to be. So I've expanded on the comic, and I think it'll be really fun, and it has like an action scene in the middle, which I'm a little bit scared to draw. I think that's going to be kind of intimidating, but it'll be fun. 12 pages, lots of different backgrounds for me to draw, which the next couple videos that I put out, I do want to do like drawing backgrounds. I definitely need to get better at it, and I think it'll be a really good way to kind of train my perspective brain to draw things better in perspective. I want to focus on drawing like interiors and also on drawing like forests and outdoor scenes. I think I'll probably do the outdoor scenes first. I think in my brain somehow like trees are easier to draw than chairs. I think it's just like the lack of straight angles is a little bit, you know, reassuring there. But yeah, so this comic is going to be like 12 pages long, and I'm going to have to start working on the thumbnails. I've got it all scripted out, and I have like little descriptions of the panels, but I need to sit down and just thumbnail out the whole thing, and I think then I'll feel a little bit less overwhelmed, because a thumbnail is like, well, I'm halfway to having a sketch, and then I'm halfway to having it inked. So it's kind of a reassuring thing. So that's my goal for next week, is to finish all of the thumbnails and then start working. Ooh. So I also wanted to draw them interacting. So I did a little finished inked piece of them. I have a pretty strong idea of the kind of relationship that they have in my head. But I thought it would just be fun to kind of draw them together and explore it a little bit more before I start putting it down on the page, and to kind of get into maybe some of their mannerisms and attitudes generally by putting them together. Honestly, I haven't been feeling very inspired to draw recently, so it's been a bit of a painful process to actually get things down on the page. I don't totally know why I'm feeling that way. I don't know, maybe it's the change in the seasons, or just my allergies have been making me kind of tired and grumpy. The tree pollen has been really bad, but I don't know. So I think, like, it's just been a bit of a struggle to draw stuff like this. I really want to work on making finished pieces, because I have lots of experience with sketching, but I need more experience with like finishing things and taking them from start to finish with the techniques that I want to utilize and get better at. And so it's just been a little bit frustrating. I'm really trying not to just rely solely on inspiration when I'm drawing, because if I only ever drew when things were like perfect for me to draw, then I wouldn't be very productive. And I want to draw more. I have really big goals and I want to improve and make stuff, so I just have to like do it even when I don't totally want to be doing it, which, you know, can be a little bit frustrating. But I'm trying to strike a balance between consistency and routine and getting things done and having fun at the same time. I never want art to feel like a chore for me, but I know I need to put in the work if I do ever want to be able to work professionally as an artist. And obviously, like, if I'm making art something that is like part of my job, then I have to be able to do it even when I don't totally feel like doing it like I do with my job, you know? So, but I also don't feel like my job is a chore necessarily. So I think it's like finding that balance of drawing when maybe you don't feel like it, but also not torturing yourself by drawing, because that's not good either. Ultimately, next week, my plan is to just spend a whole bunch of time buckling down and working on the comic. Like I was saying, I want to get all the thumbnails and layouts done for all of the pages. I think then I'll have a pretty good idea of how long everything's going to take me, and I'll feel a little bit better about it. I am also, as I said, planning to do some background studies. I'm going to need lots of nature and forest scenes for this comic. I think the inside scenes can be fairly simple. They're mostly going to be tricky because there are crowds involved, which I'll have to see how that goes, but they're quite simple just because it's a ballroom and ballrooms do not have very much furniture, so that should be fairly easy. I may live to regret this. I may eat my words here and it may be more difficult than I anticipate, but I do think it'll be quite simple. It's just in the middle there is a forest and they will be walking through it, and so I want it to look good. I have an idea in my mind of how I want it to look, and I know that I'm not going to be able to do that, so that's a little bit frustrating, but I have something to aspire to, and I would like to try to get it as close as possible with my like current skill level. I spend a lot of time looking at other comics and other comic artists' work, and they're all so freaking good at drawing, and sometimes it can be a little bit discouraging, but you know what they say, comparison is the thief of joy, so we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna sort of like hunker down, get into it, get to work, and then the comic will be done, and I will have made so much progress on my journey to making comics, and I think it's gonna be great. 12-page comic. You'll have to stay tuned. So I'll see you next week, hopefully, and if things all go to plan, I will be drawing some trees and rocks and shrubs and other such things, maybe a monster or two, and I hope to see you then. Bye!